Thank you, everyone who's here listening. Before we start, full disclaimer. We are not professionals nor certified stockbrokers. We do sell, buy, and trade stocks, but at our own discretion. The content that we talk about is based on our own opinion, not fact, and the content is for entertainment purposes only. Remember, what you invest is at your own risk. If you know nothing about stock investing, we highly suggest you seek professional help. Also, due to the content of the show, this is for mature audience only. Welcome to the Hustle, the Struggle Investment Podcast, where two regular guys not from Wall Street come together and simply talk stocks and investments. We're here to give you the raw and uncut stories of an everyday trader. Tune in and zone out. Let's talk money. All right, everyone. How are you out there? So right now we are recording in the evening time. So I want to say good evening to everyone. You might be tuning in the morning right now or the afternoon, but this episode is recording in the evening time. So good evening.
Yeah. Good evening, everyone. Whatever year it is.
But anyways, this is episode 4 of the Hustle, the Struggle podcast. Today's episode is an interesting one. I think we're going to have a little bit of fun, lots of jokes with this, but I can totally relate. I love to talk about this. But the topic of episode 4 is how to keep your cool buying and selling stocks.
Oh.
I have a saying that's coined called anxiety buys. But it's basically aligned in that topic. And we're definitely going to have tons of episodes talking more and more of this because this is, to me, probably the scariest but yet funnest aspect in trading. So let's dive right in. Episode 4. This is the Hustle, the Struggle podcast, investment podcast. Once again, this is your host, Herbert, and then the main man,
Dave.
Sorry, I've been drinking a little bit. So just forewarning.
It's all downhill from here.
Yeah, but we're going to dive in. So how to keep your cool buying and selling stocks. You want to start with that or should I leave?
Wow. I'll have to think about it, but there's been a lot of things recently with the swings and ups. Beginning of this year. Wow. I would say just hold on to your pants, you know? Yeah. I don't know. What comes to mind when you think about this?
Well, it's definitely relevant to what's going on now in the market. The market is very, very low, and it's beginning lower. It's seeming to stabilize as of lately, but I know like last week, 2 weeks ago, it was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
So that would be more of keeping your cool when the market's low, not necessarily buying and selling, but to give a better perspective in the buying and selling part. I don't know. I think really understanding the trend at that moment and then understanding the momentum and the movement, when it's bullish or bearish. And when you're buying in, it's all about timing, of course. There's always, the safest bet is to buy when it's neutral or when it's bull. But the risk that's involved is if it's neutral, it may have a little bit of momentum and then it could just plummet down. And I've definitely been in that situation where it's like, okay, I'm looking at maybe, like a 5-day or a week scale, seeing what the momentum is, then I'll correlate that to the month. And I'll see if it's been bull just within that month. While it's neutral now, I'll feel safe to make that buy. Mm-hmm. But again, I've definitely seen it where it's like, okay, I bought in, it's neutral. And then it goes bull for a little while, a couple of days, thinking, okay, I can get comfortable and hold this for a while and just make money. But then just all of a sudden it goes down and then it's bear and it keeps going down. And I lost more money than what I put in.
Yeah.
Keeping your cool. I don't know. I think that's just something that you have to develop and experience.
Yeah. I think you touched upon something. You mentioned something important, and I think it's preparation when you're buying it, and it's expectations. Squaring those up, getting them ready, know what you're in for. I think people. I mean, I definitely know that I need to still be reminded that, yeah, you could lose everything.
Yeah.
Also, you know, of course, that's when it goes down. But what do you do when it goes up? That might even present more problems.
Oh, actually, I have a good strategy for that. My own strategy I can share.
Okay.
So usually, depending on how many securities I have, if I bought a lot, you know, a nice amount, let's say starting at 200 shares, what I usually do is if I buy in a bull and it's going up and I'm already seeing profits and it continue to go up, I don't sell right away because I've learned that with my experience with PayPal, when I sold too soon, when I freaked out the first time.
Yeah.
And I guess, okay, I just said one, don't freak out. That's how you keep your cool. Just don't freak out. But
yeah, just don't go there, right?
Yeah. Yeah, when I had PayPal and I told you it reached its high to like 120, but then it shot down to maybe 90, 80 or 70. Forget the number exact. But once it recovered, I felt like that was a good stopping point, and then I sold everything that I've had to PayPal. But now its highest was like what, $300 and some dollars. But it's around that 250, 300 mark now. And you know, that's a lot of money I miss out on if I would have just held.
Yeah.
So what I do is I just take both in consideration. Like you said, the possibility that it can go down, there could be a loss. And then there's the possibility for it to continue to go up. So the strategy I learned, or the outcome I learned from that, is if I buy something, it's bull and I'm making money, I'll consistently watch its movement. And at whatever point that I see a substantial time where it's neutral, so I look for that neutrality point. And let's say if it's been neutral for a week, then there's a good possibility that it can go back down. Oh. So in that strategy, I'll give it like 1 or 2 or 3 days. But then at that point, what I'll do is I'll set a stop loss on a certain amount, maybe like a quarter of the stocks that I own at a certain price after I made a substantial amount of profits. So if it goes down, that stop loss would trigger just a few shares where I can collect some profits. And then depending on how far it goes down, then I'll make the determination if I just want to rebuy, kind of a short selling technique, but just rebuy the stock and then let it go back up and recover. But then if it doesn't, then obviously I'll collect the profits from the little shares that I sold and then keep the rest and just continue to profit as it recovers and go back up.
Interesting. And that's how you keep your cool, by having this kind of steady realization of your profit.
Yeah.
Like trickle in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Using a little bit of foresight, you're kind of just, you're guessing because you really don't know what the outcome would be, but you just make a substantial guess based on the pattern or the momentum, again, that you see in the tickers or in the graph. But yeah.
Yeah. Geez, it's a tough call. I mean, after a while, you kind of see everything happening, you know, and things that you expected to happen, stock goes up usually. Yeah. Doesn't necessarily happen. And, you know, especially nowadays, but I'm always curious to hear stories from people who've been trading for, let's see now, probably 20 years or more. You know, if they've seen these kind of volatilities, I'm sure they have, first of all, you know, and what lessons they might have learned, you know. And yeah, every time these you know, I talk about volatility, but there's also like, you know, huge upswings too. And I guess that can be considered volatility, just for more beneficial volatility. Yeah.
Oh, we should say too, I know we've used this term probably a couple times or quite a few times, but for the audience that's new to trading, what bull mean, it's a term for bullish, and bullish is an investment term, meaning that the line or the candlestick or the chart is going up. And then you have what you call it's bear or bearish, which means that the graph is downtrending. So you're losing money or the value it's going negative.
Yeah. So,
but proceed. Sorry about that. I just wanted to point that out if anyone is wondering, like, what the hell is a bull? Like he just said bull.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
You're going to hear that a lot. And most people, I think you could associate bull with good.
Yeah.
I guess depends where you place your bets, but yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, our topic. How do we keep cool? What is it during trading?
And also, I forgot to mention there's because I know we kind of justify the buying and selling if it's bull or if it's bear, but then there's other components too. You have what they call the earnings per share (EPS), the PE ratio, noting the turnover, and what the turnover is how much equity is being bought and sold internally within the company. And that's involving like the shareholders and the protectors, board of directors within the company. And then how much money is allocating into the company and how much is allocating out. So in other words, what's the liability, what's the asset, and what's the income? So how much money is the company making and how much the money is the company spending to sustain the business? So these are other factors to determine the value of that stock, that share, and determine if it's worth buying. Relatively based on the innovation of a company. For a good example is EV, electric vehicles. Like if you know in long term that this technology is going to be great, just great on the market or great for consumers, then you can make a safe betting on a company that's not profiting yet, but they're spending a lot of money to build this technology or create this innovation. But relatively, if you're unsure, then a safer investment is knowing the company performance, annual performance first. If they're making a lot of money, it's a company with a high net worth, and obviously they're making more than what they're spending, then, it'd be a safe bet to invest in that.
Yeah, I mean, especially when you're talking about future technologies and things like that, my opinion is that there's, you can believe in the future and you can also bet on the future. So, what I mean by that is there might be some things that you personally believe will take hold in the future, and not just like be present in the future, but I guess take critical mass, like have a high enough adoption rate, or I should say you could bet, against the future, and maybe that's where you might want to pick and choose, what you think might, survive. I guess in a sense it's survival of the fittest of what eventually will be left, amongst all the competitors or alternatives.
Yeah. No, for sure.
EVs, yeah, for something relevant, that's been kind of going, is getting really hot. And then it's kind of even like going subreddit style into like EV battery technology. That is the a core issue, I guess, with EVs right now.
Exactly. And again, that was just an example of just like a company having to spend a lot of money and not profit yet.
Oh, yeah.
Building the technology. But yeah, I think actually a security that I own that I'm pretty optimistic in is QuantumScape. But they're a great example.
I forgot about the name. I wanted to check it today because I heard a lot of these battery plays, and I remember this one.
Yeah, so they're one of the top runners of creating this battery where it can sustain more operability in different weather elements. Yeah. So like in extreme weather, the battery is still operable, and I think it's less charging. It can last a lot longer.
And it's not so dangerous.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So, but they're definitely a company have spent a lot in building this battery and this technology more than what they profit. So since I own them, I know
you still got them.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. They're long term for me. I know their share's been pretty rocky as of lately. They had a great run last quarter, around that time.
I bought into them for a bit there. Yeah.
Yeah. They eventually dropped.
Okay. So that's what happened.
Yeah. But again, they're still not making money. But I think eventually
they're new. They're like a startup.
Yeah.
Or something. Yeah.
Once they build the battery, they get it together, they put it on the market, then that's when we see the return. Fisker is another one too.
The car company.
Yeah. I think his name Henry Fisker. I think. Oh, please forgive me if I have the name wrong. For listeners, please do your research on Fisker, because I would hate to get wrong information. But I think his name is Henry Fisker. He's a guy that started an EV company in competition to Tesla, but he actually went bankrupt. Did a couple of changes within the company. So now he's reintroducing the business, and they have a couple of models built. They're going to put it out in the market. I think sometime in the fall this year, or maybe in the beginning of 2022. But that's when they'll be able to make money. They're very low value now. I think they're trading at like maybe $22, $23.
Okay.
And this is coming from a SPAC when it was worth no more than maybe $9 or $10.
Okay. Yeah.
But yeah, man, I have Fisker. I'm optimistic. So, but I'll have to wait for that.
And you're keeping your cool?
Exactly. Keeping my cool.
Keeping your cool.
Yeah. And I think the best thing to say to how to keep your cool buying and selling a stock is first asking yourself, what are you buying the stock for? Like, do you want to make a lot of money? Do you want to make quick money? It's really what you're going into it. Because I think relatively the stock market itself, when it comes to that type of investment, it's always long-term by default.
Yeah.
So going into it, you want to think long-term. And I think the best thing is if you're trying to make money, but it doesn't really work as the plan, you buy the share, it goes up, but then it may, overreact differently and you lose money. That's when it's time to think long term. Let that thought trigger.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like, okay, I first came in this hoping to make money, maybe because it was some good news that I read. It was some attraction to the business. And so I'm like, okay, it's a good time to buy now. Hopefully I make something, but it doesn't go according to plan. As long as you keep that same optimism and insight, the business can recover. So keep you cool in that aspect and say, hey, like I didn't make the money that I hoped I made at this time, but let me just chill out, relax, keep my cool, and think long term.
That's good. Yeah, that's very interesting. I would like to say something, since we have this platform and presumably people are listening out there, I would like to say something that's, practical or something useful and kind of give it some thought while you're talking. And I agree with a lot of the things,
Mm-hmm.
So I guess I would just say that after you've done your research, and you're ready to purchase a stock, or maybe you already own a stock at this point,
mm-hmm.
and you're reevaluating it, I think essentially you should probably be asking yourself 3 questions,
Mm-hmm.
Or be able to answer these 3 questions. It's like that.
Can I afford this hooker? Can I afford these drugs?
Pretty much. I mean, it's always 3 questions. It's like that Monty Python sketch, but essentially it is those questions. And those questions are, is there a high price I'm comfortable selling at?
Mm-hmm.
Is there a low price I'm comfortable selling at?
Yeah.
And is there, am I comfortable holding this stock for a certain period of time?
Absolutely. Hold that thought. I just want to say real quick.
Oh, and finally, if you can't answer all of those questions, then maybe you should, figure it out before proceeding.
Yeah. No, elaborate on that. I want you to hold that thought. I just wanted to say, because I just hope I'm not offending anyone. So that joke completely comes from the whole Wolf of Wall Street ideology.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm blaming the film Wolf of Wall Street to why I always make these jokes about drugs and hookers.
Yeah.
Because they kind of epitomize that in the film. Right, as investors. But the reality is there's no hookers and there's no drugs. I am not investing. I have no motivation in hookers and drugs. Just wanted to make that clear. But please continue, Dave. Sorry.
Oh, man. How can I continue after that, man? Jeez. Well, back to finances. Yeah. If you can't afford the hookers and drugs, don't buy them.
No, but for
don't
sure.
try to buy it.
No, for sure. But to get serious, no, you're right. And I think what you just said just aligned to what I said. Again, it's just long term by default.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, I've heard it probably everywhere too. From normal people to professional, brokers and stuff like that. It's all about what you're comfortable with. And honestly, whenever I hear that, they always say like, oh, but find your comfort zone. Really, in my opinion, my personal opinion, they just want to ask, are you comfortable with losing a lot of money? Basically. That's what I hear. That's what I hear. I know the words. They're saying, are you, find your comfort level when investing. But that voice, in my mind gets turned into this really horrible voice saying, are you ready to lose it all?
Yeah.
Are you ready to watch your money go up in flames?
Yeah. And see, that's a good example.
If you're not comfortable with that, then hey, you better pick up sewing or something.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say that the adverse to that would probably be the anxiety buy. So yeah, you're right. You already have it in your mind that like, okay, I'm coming in here to lose my money. So if I lose my money, hey, at least I tried.
Trading is about decision making.
Yeah.
And if you're not ready to make decisions, and these are some of the, please don't play with all your money, because those are the worst decisions you can be making. But
absolutely.
But it is your money, and sometimes those can be the hardest decisions you'll make. In your point in your life, in certain parts of your life.
Yeah, I mean that's more of like a psychology topic.
Yeah, we should bring in a psychologist who also trades, and we should look at their balance sheet.
Oh, dude, that's an awesome fucking idea. All right, so we're making that announcement. If you're a psychologist or you into psychology, you went to school for it or whatever, you have any expertise in psychology and you invest as well, we would love to have you on this platform. If you so happenly just tuning in right now and you're hearing this,
send us a message on our Instagram.
On Instagram, The Hustle, The Struggle Investment Podcast, at The Hustle, The Struggle. We're gonna have a website soon. We're building that. That's all in the process. But so we have talked about keeping our cool with buying, but then we have to talk about the selling part. I think that's going to be a little more difficult. But I feel I was already pondering that thought while you were talking. But I feel that rule of thumb of thinking long term by default still applies, because even when you sell, is that whole thought process. Should I sell now? Am I selling too soon? The possibility that it could go up more. So I did mention that strategy in the beginning about just having a stop loss just in case it dropped.
Yeah.
Just creating certain safety nets to protect yourself during downturns, volatility, those type of things. So that's just more of an idea. Like if you want to sell, but you feel like it's too soon, then just sell a little bit. Don't sell everything. And again, by default, thinking long term. So if you, let's use GameStop, for example. You buy it at $50 and you saw that it just shot up to $300. Well, that's a bad example, because if you ever see any bullish aggression to that capacity, then yeah, you want to sell right away.
Man,
that's a bad example.
Jump on that bandwagon, hold on till as long as it goes. And, the best to the last person, holding on to the end.
Yeah, maybe we can say like Tesla, because Tesla had a very, very good aggressive bull last year.
But I also, just quickly though, I also believe there are times when you don't want to hold long term, if you're willing to,
well, GameStop
those are riskier.
But GameStop would be that example. That's why I said that was a bad example. I was trying to think of something quick, but that's a great example of when you want to short time sell or hold it for a short period of time and sell. At the highest point.
Yeah, and we often talk about when it's going down, but when it's going up, wow, when do you sell? How do you also keep your cool during that? Like last thing you want is some, person coming up to you and talk and brag about their stocks, which they haven't even sold yet, Like, yeah, it looks great on paper. Let me see the money. Talk about it, but how do you keep your cool in this whole process?
No, for sure. Well, a better question actually is, when do you sell when you're at a loss? So I'll give an example. Last year I had Lemonade. I bought around the time that it was IPO, and I think it IPO'd maybe at 50, maybe 50 or 60, around that range. It went up to 70, 80. I bought in and I made money, but I was thinking that it was going to continue to go bull. I think it recovered now and is doing well. But at that time, it might have peaked at like maybe 85 to 90. Then after that, it just dropped. And it dropped at the price where it IPO'd. And then it dropped even lower. So I was at a loss and really not having any optimism on this security, not really having any guesstimate or forecast to how it's going to react. I felt this was a failure. So I ended up selling at a loss. And I felt comfortable with it. And I felt it was necessary at that time. I was a bit sad, a bit depressed. But that's when I actually had lost a lot of money. So, yeah, I know we've kind of hinted about this chat group that me and Dave is a part of. But it's not really relevant. I'm just mentioning this for the visitors to know. I'm sorry, I keep saying visitors. For the listeners to know.
Yeah.
I'm kind of going off topic. But remembering that when I was in the group and I left the group.
Yeah.
And because I was at a heavy loss, I was demotivated. I was a little bit sad. I'm just like, oh, what the hell?
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
For sure.
Lemonade was part of that. Lemonade made a huge dent on my account.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I think me and you talked about this separately.
When life gives you lemons, make lemonade.
Dude, but I was pissed off at Nelson.
Yeah.
Remember we had this conversation? I was like, man, Nelson, this motherfucker. But it wasn't his fault. He did the right thing.
Not.
He mentioned
we have that rule.
Exactly. It was my decision, but it's because I lost so much money from that. That's the only reason I got excited.
Man,
I had to take it out on someone.
Bunch of lemonade, man. Some sour, like just lemon juice. You didn't even get lemonade.
I was like, man, this fucker. I started questioning his credibility.
Right.
I'm like, Nelson just be throwing out bullshit. But again, Nelson, if you listen to this, I promise you I love you, brother. I love this dude. It was just that it was only because of that one situation. I'm like, man, I lost so much money off this. But yeah, it was Lemonade. It was Lemonade and a couple of other shares, but Lemonade was like the main one.
Okay.
Yeah, I lost like $3,000 with Lemonade.
Okay. Yeah. Fair enough. Yeah, I mean, I've bailed out on some stocks, on some losses. General rule of thumb, try not to sell when I'm at a loss. Yeah. And even if I can squeak out that $1, I'll feel a whole lot better than if I lost that dollar, I guess. But yeah, there have been times. So usually those times are when I needed the money, so I try not to let that purely emotion aspect take over. Yeah. But you're right. You need to, emotion's a very powerful thing. So money and emotions. Yeah. I swear if you mix those together, it's more stronger than a nuclear weapon, but, so you got to keep those in check. Yeah. Emotions, what can you do? And I think if you've been trading for a while, you begin to see some value in that. Of course, it's not going to work for you all the time, I think, but yeah, you see those people who have decided to, hold on, rough it out, and then, then they get their time in the sun, their stock goes up, in that particular chat group, we have a member who I think did pretty well. I mean, Tesla's doing well, but there was a bit of dip, and then it started gaining momentum again. And actually now I feel like it's kind of dipping down, whether it be market forces or not. Yeah. Matter of fact, how do you feel about Tesla? Its future? You think mixed bag? It's going to break through to 1,000 again, or that's it for Tesla? Near future great, long term not so well, and just because of, I'm going to take example right out of the history of automobile textbook, and thinking about Ford. In the heyday, in that kind of revolution, in that kind of timing, of course it's an electric car and we already have cars, but now we're talking about a fuel revolution, which I think is quite substantial. Yeah. The thing is like all these great companies that were pioneers, they, from Pioneer to what's the end of Pioneer? Pioneer to the last one standing. Yeah. I don't know if anyone maintains that market position through and through. Like, look at where Ford is, There's always going to be competitors. So near term, I think Tesla's going to do really well. Long term, yeah, they might just be, I don't know what to say, yeah.
But do you think they'll make it 1,000 again?
Oh, I'm sure it's very possible it could be 1,000, especially if you throw on a couple of years on that, There's still room. And that's why I say near term, yes. Yeah. They do have the edge. They have the branding. They have the awareness. If anyone thinks electric cars, in North America and largely the world,
yeah,
I think the first handful of words that will come up, one of them will be Tesla.
No, for sure.
Yeah.
No, for sure. Yeah, I actually have Tesla right now. I try to.
People might start just associating, instead of saying, hey, that's an electric car, they might just say it's a Tesla in some other countries,
Yeah.
That kind of level.
Yeah. No, I'm at a loss with Tesla. I tried to short sell buying around 800.
Yeah.
Thinking it was going to make it to 9. I was waiting for it to hit 900. I had a limit sale for 900 and it never made it. And now, it went down. So, yeah, I'm
everyone's sore. Yeah,
it's a pretty bad loss right now. But
yeah, same.
But I am optimistic. I think it will recover, maybe to the price that I bought it. I don't know about 900 though.
I'm just wondering,
that's why I'm pessimistic at.
I was waiting for 900.
Yeah.
So that never happened. Or maybe it did, but I was waiting for it to go back.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, you're right. It did reach 900, but that was like its highest.
Yeah.
Yeah, it did. I'm sorry.
Briefly, I think.
Yeah. But I was waiting for it to kind of like break through and stabilize at 900.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
With the limited, and the last year we saw the run up, Neo, XPEV, Xpeng, sorry. And now we're starting to see some not equal size competitors, but some competitors enter this, foray.
Yeah.
And I think this is kind of like the moment where like the Dodge brothers left Ford. Mm-hmm. Now there's no relation between these companies, but this is the fracturing of the once monopoly. Mm-hmm. And what I'm talking about here is more the luxury EV market. And electric cars are still considered a luxury object. Whereas, which I did some research in China, there's like 15 other brands, anything from like a small toaster, 2-seater, which is super popular for commuter cars, to up to Neos. Neo is considered a luxury. Yeah. Now here in North America, there's not much distinction between an EV and a luxury car because it's still considered a luxury somewhat.
Well, I was going to ask,
even the Nissan Leaf, I think, is somewhat viewed maybe incorrectly as a luxury.
Well, how do you feel about this Canadian company? I think their stock is so low.
Canadian car company.
Well, it's a 1-seater.
Oh, the teardrop one.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
I have some shares in that. I'm pretty optimistic about it.
Solar charged one, like the new one, 500 miles, 1,000 miles.
I'm looking it up right now, guys. Electra Mechanica.
Oh.
This one.
I'm surprised at how many electric car companies there are.
So look at it. It's 2 wheels in the front, one in the back.
That's like that car that Mr. Bean always runs off the road. It's just as red.
Dude, look at the body. I mean, it looks like an unfinished car. That's exactly what it looks like.
It looks like a car got cut in half in an accident.
Yeah, it's supposed to be a Canadian company.
It looks very European. Even the Renault / is that a Bull? It's a Bull. Yeah. Well, anyway, this is a big topic. And I guess the question for me is, how long is this going to stay hot?
Yeah.
And well, honestly, I thought the momentum would still maintain. I think the last big news that really moved the market was this was some talk about Neo and stuff like that, and some more players in the market, some big players. Mm-hmm. So now from investment specifically, that has yet to be seen. I guess kind of tie it back to the topic we're talking about, I'm trying to keep my cool on this whole EV hype, and wondering how long, if it's going to be just a flash in the pan, which, we've seen so many, or ever, throughout, I guess, our lifetime, or is there going to be a trend, or is it going to be something that's going to change the world? And once again, we're talking about electric cars here, so a lot of potential to make a big impact.
Yeah, when we talk about gas emissions, climate change and sustainability, I think it's inevitable. I think the thing is, it's new. It's novelty now, But again, as the technology becomes more sophisticated and advanced, it becomes more affordable. And then eventually we're going to see the replacement where it's going to be normalized. But, we're talking about a decade before that happened, maybe even longer.
Yeah.
So it's going to take a while before you see that full on transition. But I think eventually we're going to get there. Yeah. Like electric vehicles are going to be the norm if we want to get rid of gas.
I think electric
gas,
vehicles,
fuel, oil production, all that other stuff. I think. Yeah.
I honestly, I think kind of in hindsight, this whole electric from gas to electricity, it's kind of tangent here, but gas to electricity will be kind of a sleeper hit, because we're not introducing flying cars per se. We're just swapping out the fuel. And
then you have the autonomous component too.
That is actually, you're right.
Yeah.
Kind of that might be, and I hate this word, the game changer.
Yeah, but nice. Yeah, seriously.
Get me some chicken wings. That's the game changer.
Once you integrate that into the workforce, like autonomous for truck drivers, then why not make everything electric at that point?
Yeah.
But eventually, I don't know. That's a
have to look into our crystal ball. I think that's a good, as much as I joke about that, I think it's a very good exercise for people to try to take that energy, use your intelligence, experience to figure out what could happen.
Yeah, I feel like if you do enough research and you're confident in what you're buying, I think just naturally you're going to keep your cool. But yeah, I mean, it's just understanding the trade-offs in the market, the risks that's involved. Just being aware that any wrong could happen.
Yeah, have an exit strategy always.
Yeah, yeah. But I mean, for the most part, it's just keeping your cool. Just chill out. But it's one thing that I hear every so often that I don't agree with is this is something that you buy and you forget about it. Like, no. Yeah. You always want to pay attention to your investment. Buy this stock and forget about it.
Yeah, it's not like a pet rock. It's a real life pet that you have to feed,
Well, I mean, it's just it's real life things to be aware of. Like if a company goes bankrupt without notice, you're not doing any research, you completely forgot, what you invest. You're not even keeping up with the news or anything.
Yeah.
Or a lawsuit, or some scam, or some scandal, like anything.
Yeah, long-term effects. Not these blips.
Yeah.
Right.
You always just want to be up and up. Just have a general consensus to what's going on. If you don't have to like brainiac the thing and obsess over it. But yeah, as long as you know enough to just say, hey, like, let me just do a quick Google search on this company. Oh, the first headline is that they made $1 million in 1 year. Okay, cool. Let me go back to my life,
Yeah.
But, you just want at least an idea. Like if you do a Google search and what pops up is like, oh yeah, they're getting sued and they just settled for $50 billion. And then you're like, oh shit, I need to look at my investment, see what the hell is going on.
Yeah.
But yeah. But yeah, I think overall to this is, how to keep your cool is by just keeping your cool.
You know what? Yeah. And have some, one thing, have some people to talk about your investments with. I found that useful,
Yeah. See a therapist.
Yeah. Yeah. Or just, have someone you can bounce ideas off of. See, make sure you're not going crazy, right? Get some feedback, See
what if you're like clinically bipolar and you're an investor? That would be a hell of a...
I'm sure I'm sure the people with, all backgrounds and
it'd be a hell of a mix
with who are great investors and Yeah.
It's like you walk in, you feel good about it. The next thing you know, you change your mind. You're like, oh, fuck. And then again, you feel good about it. So you go ahead and buy. But then you start to freak out like, oh, why did I buy? Oh, my God. You go to sleep. You wake up the next morning. And it's like, oh, okay. I bought it. You'll be fine. I'll make some money. A couple of days after that, you're freaking out again.
Oh, man. It was like this recent Tesla run. Well, not recent. Probably like the last 6 months where it's like, oh, yeah, it's going up. Oh, and then it paused for a bit. And then it's really going up again.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, yeah, okay, now this time it will keep on going. Like this, all these, when times are good, I justify it with all these things, and I remember like a month ago, or maybe even around January, maybe even more, you're saying, get prepared for things to go take a nosedive, you mentioned, I don't know if you did, selling, a portion of your portfolio, get into cash.
I did say that, yes.
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah.
These kind of, those crazy people on the street corners with the end is near signs, I listen to them. I always listen to them. Eventually it's going to happen. But and I'm not saying the world ended, but it took a massive correction. Yeah. So
I'm glad you mentioned that, because that's why I'm so cool about the low market that we have now. Because I was in preparation of this. I saw this coming. That's why I kept stressing in that group chat, stop loss, protect your losses.
Yeah. Take your profit. Be happy. Don't get too greedy. You hear that a lot. Yeah. And there's always next time.
Yeah. And I can say, just in relevance to where I'm at now in my portfolio, because I predicted this, a lot of my new investments, or the investments I have, are into new companies, I should say. So I bought it at a very low price, roughly around like $20 to $30. Most of what's in my portfolio. A large component of that is EV, because I'm optimistic of EV. I think electric vehicles are going to normalize and replace fuel cars, but it's going to take some years. So I'm thinking long term in that case. And so with that being said, if it's already low, if it drops, it's not that much of a loss. But even if it's out of a loss, because of the progression of this industry, it'll eventually recover. Of course, you're going to have a couple of companies that may go bankrupt, go broke, or just basically out progress in the competition. But that's the market, that's the risk. No one has control of that. But yeah, I invested low, thinking long term. I'm talking about in 5 years. So I haven't sold anything. I'm keeping everything, even though I'm at a loss, waiting for it to correct and recover. And then in addition to that, I was going to say something. I forgot a point. Just missed this point.
It happens.
I was going to say, this is the opportunity to buy. But my problem is, I did invest a lot of the profits that I have. I did reinvesting. So my issue is I just need new money to buy more. So just kind of throwing that out there for the listeners. Like, in a market like this, hold what you have if you feel confident and optimistic long-term about it. But this is the time to buy. And if you're privileged enough, you want to buy with new money, fresh money, and you're going to even grow your investment, double, triple, quadruple your return when the market recovers and bounce back. But
wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, wow, 45 minutes in, just to talk about how to keep our cool when buying and selling stock.
Oh, wow. And we've kind of covered a lot of things, kind of drifted here, over to the left a little bit, drifted into the right lane a bit, just.
No, for sure. But yeah, I think this is a good time to stop. But yeah, I think that sums it up. How to keep your cool is simply to keep your cool. Just know what you're doing, and by default, think long term, even if you have short term expectations.
Yeah, let's see. What's my final words? Just like life, things change, and good or bad, nothing's forever.
Absolutely. Yeah, well, as I said at the very beginning of the episode, it's the evening time. It's late. We both want to rest. We had our dinner already, but I'm ready to sleep. So want to say good night, everyone. I hope you all enjoyed this episode. This is episode 4. So our next episode, hopefully, we'll have our first guest. Very excited about that. I'm not going to name drop. I'm not going to say who it is, but we have a first guest. See, I'm tired, guys. I'm like stuttering words and shit. That means I'm sleepy and my mouth is dry and I need water. But anyways, tune in for the next episode. This will be our 5th episode. I'm excited about that.
5 already.
Yes.
5th one.
Yes. And if we get that guest I'm talking about, it's going to be a really, really fun, fantastic, funny time. Yes. So can't wait. But other than that, won't keep you guys up. Again, this is the Hustle, the Struggle Investment Podcast. Make sure you check out our Instagram, follow the Hustle, the Struggle, or you can search the Hustle, the Struggle Investment Podcast on the website, and everything else is going to come soon. So again, as we progress, we're always going to be throwing little tits and bits out there to follow us, get more information, but we definitely want people involved. Hopefully in the future, people can call in and we can discuss one-on-one with our listeners, whatever. But things will progress, things will unfold, and I'm excited about it. But I won't take up too much of you guys' time. This is the longest fucking goodbye. Let me shut the fuck up and say thank you for tuning in. You all have a wonderful night. This is your host, Herb, frequent guest, David.
Yep.
Peace out. Thank you, everyone who's here listening. For a disclaimer, we are not professionals nor certified stockbrokers. We do sell, buy, and trade stocks, but at our own discretion. The content that we talk about is based on our own opinion, not fact, and the content is for entertainment purposes only. Remember, what you invest is at your own risk. If you know nothing about stock investing, we highly suggest you seek professional help.